comments, how long have you been following? So I've been waking up on Saturday mornings, going live here since 2006. And it's crazy because I remember I used to dial into Eagle teleconferencing, right? And it was a phone line. And then social media became a thing. And then it was, you could do, there was back when there was Periscope or Kaleidoscope or whatever it was called. And all these different platforms where you could actually watch someone with video. How many of you watched a Good Friday service yesterday on a live stream just like this? Or maybe you woke up this morning and you went to your favorite YouTube or Instagram. Everybody is looking for a way to feel good. And here's what I have found. Everything around us controls our state. And if you can change your state, you can change your life, but it's hard. And it gets harder and harder and harder because people are so bombarded with all the outside junk getting inside. I always use the analogy, it's hard to put new jelly in an old donut. But today I really want to talk to you about a clean slate. And I learned this word a long time ago, and I think it just goes hand in hand with it being Easter weekend. The word is tabula rasa, Tabula rasa. And tabula rasa means clean slate, fresh start, new identity. Maybe think of how you feel when you have a clean kitchen compared to when you have a sink full of dishes and stuff all over the cupboards. Or think of how you feel when you get in a clean car that smells good compared to the week when all your grandkids were there and there's a sour bottle and a Happy Meal bag and a wet diaper that got taken off and laid on the floor. Like when you have a clean slate, when you can see a brand new clear vision or a fresh start or a new chapter, it's exciting. And I want to also warn you of something that is equally important. This morning I woke up and I was just taking time to meditate and pray. I really want to do like a 3-day fast. As soon as I'm finished with my training calls today, it's hard for me to just unplug and fast and pray because I have a lot of responsibilities. And then you're like, well, I hate to like go hide and fast on Easter when I should be entertaining, or I should be making sure everyone has an Easter basket or good food. But the reality is, if not now, when is ever a good time for you to really feed your own mind, for you to have a clean slate, for you to have a fresh start? And that doesn't mean when things are tough, you run, right? People get on a roller coaster. It seems like it's going to be a little scary. It might be going too fast. And immediately they're like, where's the chicken exit, right? People are in a chapter in their life where they're like, I'm so confused. Like, how can this be my life? And I want to tell you guys, from me to you, in my life, when I was most confused is when I have been most used. In my life, when I've been most confused and none of it makes sense, is usually when I've been most used. And how many of you have had times in your life where you literally want to run? You just want to run. You're burned out, you're mad, you're sad. I mean, let's just say it. Your feelings are hurt, you're resentful, nobody appreciates you. You're up early in the morning. You're the last one to go to bed at night. When your kids are little, everything's a mess. You know, as a mom, once you become a mom, it's not about you anymore, ever. Let's just be honest. And if you think that graduation's going to come and you're going to have empty nests and you're going to miss them all, you're crazy. I cried like it was a funeral when Brooklyn graduated. Like I thought my life was ending because my only real identity, my core commitment is being that mom, raising that family, right? So let's fast forward 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. You talk to a mom that's 65 years old. If you were to sit down and talk to my mom today, my mom would tell you there were much harder moments when we left her house and she was the mom than were ever happening when we were at home in her house and she was the mom. I understand it gets stressful. Times are tough. Financial situations are tough. Marriages can be tough. I think about the way that my dad just left, and I was so mad, and I could not believe that he would do what he did. But let's talk about this state of mind that people get in, because I think many of you have probably been there. I love my dad. To be honest, I wish I was at the wrestling match right now. My niece is wrestling at a national tournament. My dad is there with his wife, and my mom is there with my brother. And you know what's crazy, amazing about my mom? I mean, she's literally my hero. She's so forgiving. She's so full of a Holy Spirit that is so full of love and forgiveness. They're at the same meet. They even went to dinner in the same restaurant. And my mom does not hate or hold a grudge. Now, I want you to think about this. There was a time in my mom and dad's life where it was hard. And there's this fight or flight thing in your brain because of trauma that makes you say, this is uncomfortable. I am confused. I am traumatized. I am done wrong song, right? And my dad was done wrong in business. My dad was done wrong in finances. My dad was done wrong. His brother died of suicide. His mom remarried. 4 stepkids came into play. Everyone a mess. Like, there was a lot of turmoil happening. Can you imagine Easter when I was growing up at that grandma's house? You can't imagine it, because nothing was perfect in that world, right? So one side of the block, my grandma's lived 3 doors down, like 3 doors down, Greatest American Rock Band. That's how far apart my grandmas were. So my one grandma, they woke up and they went to Catholic Mass, and she could go out and party, and she could go to confession. And then, I was confused. I was so confused, because then on the other side of the block, there was my grandma that was a Baptist. And as soon as I left my grandma that was a Catholic's house and got to my Baptist grandma's house, she was like, you are not wearing red polish. And she would take the polish off my nails. And then I'd be fake smoking my crayon cigarettes, right? And she would like, you are not smoking. And it was so crazy, because I know that God is so real. But to be honest with you, all the different beliefs and religions just had me a little confused growing up. I was just a little confused. What is right? What is wrong? And I remember the day that my dad just left, just disappeared. And it was traumatic, but it wasn't nearly as traumatic as some of the days waking up in that energy and frequency. And so I love my dad. I'm not going to talk bad about my dad, but there was a lot of dysfunction in my life growing up. And one day when Dave Pitcock came into my life and we ran away and we went 1,500 miles from Russell, Kansas, and we started our own life with no money, no food. We literally had to go to the food pantry. Had to sell my horse to pay rent. My 66 Mustang that I redid through my entire high school years, and it was like my baby. Had to let it go just so I could be far away with this rodeo cowboy. And I want to tell you guys what happened during that time. I had a brand new clean slate. Nobody was coming to rescue me. Nobody was coming to fix my financial problems. Nobody was coming to put food in my fridge. No way my mom could. She was raising 4 little babies by herself, and the littlest one was 3. I let go of an old identity, and it was a clean slate. And I did have to let go of the negative self-talk. I had to learn confidence that I never had before being with Dave Pitcock. And sometimes we have to shed that old skin. And I want to say this to all of you without hurting your feelings. Your environment shapes you. And when I got in a brand new environment and I didn't have to talk about my dad, I didn't have to talk about the drama. I didn't have to hear all the small town stuff when I went to the grocery store. I didn't have to think about all of the shame and guilt and blame and rumors and whatever it was. And I just had a clean slate. I had no money and we had no food, but I had a fresh start. And I want to tell you a message that I heard today when I woke up and listened to Stephen Furtick. It said, everyone gets celebrated when there's a new start. Welcome party. Welcome freshmen to college, right? Initiation or kindergarten roundup. Like there's a party for all the new. And there's also a party for retirement. There's a celebration of life. There is a party for you when you reach the highest pinnacle in your company. But I want to talk about the state of being able to stay, because I own a multi-million-dollar company and we celebrate every new person that comes in because they got a fast start, right? They got to bronze. And we also celebrate all the top leaders because they did 500,000 in volume or close to 1 million a month in volume right now. Some of them. We celebrate them like crazy. But today, if I could just reach to the people that are confused and they don't want to celebrate Easter and nothing in their life makes sense and they miss their mom, they miss their dad, they miss their kids, they miss their spouse, they miss their grandkids. Easter is probably the most important holiday in my mind. It's very undervalued. A lot of people don't even understand how important it is. But any holiday just amplifies your emotions. And it's one day, guys. If you're in that confused state where you're wondering, like, how did I get to this point? And you're feeling maybe like my dad did with so much trauma till he just ran and left it all. Maybe you're in the state where you can't run because everybody's depending on you. Like, everything is not roses. And I think what you have to remember is a lot can happen in 3 days. Because if you think of the story of Easter, and for those of you that don't celebrate it, don't be offended. This is not about religion. I'm not going to tell you if you're right or wrong. That's your decision. But when I think about the story of Easter, it was a brand new identity for everybody. It was a clean slate for everyone that witnessed it. And there was major devastation and confusion. Major devastation and confusion and trauma. Can you imagine the little boy that saw Jesus walking, carrying the cross, or saw him beaten, or saw them nailing 3 people on a, wooden, huge log? That's complete devastation and trauma. And then, 3 days later, everything made so much more sense. And I think a lot of us don't realize that just like that, your entire paradigm can shift. Everything that you thought was real and devastation and, oh my gosh, there's no good in this. I'm going to tell you, I've had so many chapters where I literally could not find the good. Chapters where the only good I could tell Dave was nobody died today. And he would get so mad at me, but I was trying to find gratitude, and yet I was just so low. I think a lot of people look at Barb Pitcock and they're like, she's got the life of her dreams. She's got all the money and she's got all these friends and she has these followers and this great company and she travels around and she's got a lake house and whatever. But, nobody sees the journey and nobody sees how hard it was and how painful it was and how many times I wanted to have fight or flight and just run and quit every good thing that ever happened to me because of the pressure. But let's celebrate the stay, right? For all of you who can relate to that, let's celebrate that you're strong enough that you know I'm the mom someone's looking to. I'm the grandma someone's looking to. I'm the oldest of 5. I'm the daughter that my mom depended on. You know, you've got to set a good example, not of what you do when everything is great, but what you do under pressure. And I think about forgiveness and how important that has been in my life to raise my frequency, because your results in life are going to be a true reflection. Your identity is going to be a true reflection. Your success, your health, everything that comes from you is going to be a true reflection of your frequency. And your frequency when you walk in a room is contagious. And your frequency when you go to bed at night, everyone around you feels it. When you wake up in the morning, everyone around you feels it. Even in a text message, they feel it. When you show up with your fake little smiling selfie, you know, you can fake it till you make it, but people know. You know a flake when you made a flake, and you know a real authentic person when you meet a real authentic person. And I'm not telling you to go air out all your drama on Facebook. I think that's the dumbest thing people could ever do, because nobody's attracted to that. Nobody's attracted to your negative post or your share of negative news, because that's not building up anything. That's literally tearing it down. If we're in a kingdom where we're all a child of a championship bloodline and we're all interweaved and connected, and you can't play the understanding game, you can't forgive, you can't allow people to be how they are, whatever religion they are, whatever belief they have, whatever they think, Democratic or Republican, you know, believer or not believer. I think about the story of Easter and I think about my own identity, and I am constantly reminded that Jesus didn't leave the tomb and go find the king. He didn't look for the person with the most followers. He didn't go to someone that had the most clout. I don't think there was any name brands back then. But I'm going to tell you something. He didn't find his worth in name dropping or being around the biggest influencer or making it on the best team or being the starting athlete or the homecoming king or queen, or it was nothing like that. And I think we live in a world that is such a facade that you forget the most important story. When in the story, the way that I heard it, and who knows who's right, he found a prostitute at a well. He found the outcast. He found the black sheep. He didn't go find the perfect Christian or whatever. He found the outcast. And when I think about my own identity and having a clean slate, it's every single day, because I'm going to fall short. I'm going to cuss. I'm going to get mad. I'm going to get my feelings hurt. I'm going to not do what someone thought that I should do. I'm going to not fit into the rules that you think that I should follow, or worship the way that maybe I should worship, or vote the way that maybe some people think that I should vote, or I don't vote, or I do vote. You know, we're all human. That's the sad thing here. And from the beginning, there has been good and evil. And I feel like I'm reading a lot right now about spiritual warfare. And I feel like good and evil is everywhere around us. It's a frequency. You're either all love, completely authentic, forgiving, loving, joyful, happy, generous, and real, or you're mad, sad, hurt, jealous, envious, angry, ashamed, and guilty. There's no different there. Here's one and here's the other. And there's no more farther from the truth of what is God than being the highest vibration of all, which is authenticity and love. So I fall short. You fall short. We have a clean slate every single day. And forgiveness is something that I think a lot of people don't understand. You don't forgive someone because they deserve it. You don't forgive someone because what they did was right. You don't forgive someone because they hurt you and they stole from you, or they lied about you, or they cheated on you, or they ruined your business, or they cross-recruited your customer, or whatever it is. You don't forgive them because they deserve to be forgiven. None of us do. And we all do bad things. And here's the crazy part. People think that sin is measured by like how bad the thing was. It's all bad. When I hear people talking about how bad people are, I think like, you're gossiping. You're just as bad as they are, right? I hear people shaming and blaming and hating. And I'm like, which one's worse? Which one is worse? Because all of it is measured the same. And frequency and energy is so real and it's contagious. And the question is what you have worth me catching? Is what you have worth me catching? What if everybody in the world was like you? What kind of a world would this be? I've made a lot of mistakes in my life, but the tabula rasa theory of a clean slate, stepping into a new identity, a higher frequency, it's every single day you can do this. And it starts with daily habits. So a daily habit for me lately has been to wake up and set my intention. And I can set my intention at night in my journal. I use an app called Insight Timer, and I do meditation and prayer right when I wake up before I even look at my phone. And then some people will have like 20 messages to me by the time I get my phone. But the reality is, if I woke up and I just got notification, and I didn't first fill my heart with love and forgiveness, some good music, a message, what you put in is going to come out. And when you're especially a high performer or in a position like I'm in, it's even more important because people are depending on you. It's a responsibility. From the day you become a mother, you have a responsibility to set an example, to be the strength, to be the root, to be the family tree, right? And you're the one that brought these humans into the world, right? You need to be a good example every day. And sometimes that is not easy. I think about my mom and I think about celebrating the stay because she stayed faithful. She stayed forgiving. She stayed full of love. She stayed strong. She stayed believing that the Lord was going to bless her eventually. And it wasn't fast. I mean, I think she had to break a spiritual warfare of delay. It took a long time. But today I look at my mom and, I could be anywhere on Easter. I'm so blessed to still have my mom. I miss my grandkids. I miss my kids. But this morning, early before this recording live, I went and got an Easter lily. I always take my mom an Easter lily on Easter. And I always want to be there for her because if it wasn't for her, none of us would be here, right? Being obedient, always honoring your mother and father, no matter what. It's such a lost thing in the world today. The world is so messed up, in my old soul opinion. And I just think sometimes we have to be able to let go of this identity, this grudge, this whatever it is that we have that we're entitled to, this whole new younger movement of just self-care and boundaries. And I mean, I see kids like leaving their families, changing their names. I don't even know what's happening, but here's what I do know. Here's what I do know. Forgiveness is the biggest lesson that I ever learned. And early on, maybe 2007, right before Dave and I had one of the biggest 90-day runs we ever had, we were launching a new team. And there was this top attorney. I still pray with him every day at 8 o'clock. Every day at 8 o'clock Central, I get a text from this man. His name is Chris Kimino. And we're in a prayer group for a woman here local that has pancreatic cancer. And so there's like 10 people in this text. And every night at 8 o'clock, Chris texts me and says, time to pray. And he's one of the most powerful prayer warriors I've ever been friends with. But we were sitting by a pool, and it was this time of year. It was up and coming softball season. And we were at Callie's softball coach's house, and she happened to be our nutritionist for our company at the time. Good friends. We were all around the pool. Everybody had their cocktails and whatever. And she said, there's this big attorney coming in from Arizona. I want you to meet him. I think he would be great on our team. So I had all my notes, right? I know he's going to ask me about the product, the compensation plan. He's going to want to know about the formulations and what the cost is, and, all the things. I was so ready for this green personality attorney. And I remember we were sitting out by the pool, and I was making friends with him, and he was asking me questions. And we got ready to leave that night. We hadn't talked a lot about the company. And I said, so what do you think, Chris? And he looked at me and he said, I think you need to forgive your dad. He said, I love you and the movement and everything that you're doing. I think the product is amazing. I love you and your husband. You guys have great kids. But he said, I would never feel comfortable attaching myself in business if the root wasn't good. And what you're holding on to will stop the blessings that God wants you to have. And I was like, but you don't understand. I mean, it wasn't fair what happened and what he did. And you don't know what I was going on and on and on and on. And he said, but that is not yours to judge. And he looked me in the eyes and he said, nothing your dad ever did to you will ever hurt anyone as bad as what you did that your father paid the price for. And I was like, oh my gosh. I was embarrassed. It was like someone called me on my own narrative. I felt really stupid. I could have said, I don't like that attorney. But I went home, guys, and I want to talk to you about this clean slate. I wrote a long letter. And I don't care if you ever mail the letter, because the forgiveness is not for the person, it's for you. And I released all the feeling that I had of anyone that had ever hurt me. I released all the feeling of anyone that had ever betrayed me. I released all of the feeling of anything that was ever taken from me. I didn't get to go to college, but all my friends did. I didn't get to join a sorority, but all of my friends did. I didn't get to try out for the dance team or the cheer team, but all of my friends did. I didn't get the choice that so many other people had. And I could look at them and say, I should be enjoying my college years right now. I should have got to enjoy this chapter. It's not fair that I'm not able to go out and have the parties and meet the fraternity boys and be at the fake Patty's Day. And I never got that life. I didn't need that life. I was so confused what God was doing in my life, because I was working 2 jobs and the night shift, helping my mom raise 4 little babies, not knowing where my dad was, and he had changed his name, cutting hair morning till night. I was in the worst relationship I literally bought my own engagement ring, begging this person to love me. I thought I would never get married. I didn't know how I would ever have any kids because I was so low self-confidence. And I prayed in a parking lot at the Russell Food Mart. And I sat there praying with tears falling on my legs. And I looked up. I will never forget it. It was August the 15th of 1992. And Dave Pitcock was standing there asking me for a ride. And sometimes we think we can control everything. We want to get even. We want to control everything. We don't understand whether it's finances, relationship, health, your kids, your grandkids, your dad, whatever it is. Daily habits are so important. And letting go is so important. Because every conversation, everywhere we went when Dave and I were 21, it was about our dads. We're in a small town. People just want to stir it up. There was so much drama. I mean, Dave's dad married a girl that we graduated high school with, and he was struggling with addiction. And my dad just disappeared and changed his name. And the narrative could have been those poor kids, that poor mom, that poor family. But you know what? Dave Pitcock taught me something about forgiveness. And Chris Kimmenaugh taught me something about forgiveness. And when Chris Kimmenaugh said, release it before you launch this team, Dave and I had our biggest run ever, with $1 million in sales in our first 65, 70 days. The fax machine was so jammed with applications, they canceled our fax number and thought it was fraud. Our credit card processor said we didn't have enough equity to run that much in credit cards because if there was a chargeback, there wasn't a house or something they could come from. Guys, when I say abundance just rained on us, abundance just rained on us, and we were not deserving. None of us are. But as long as we stay in this state that is low vibration, my son Chance will call me on it all the time. Because we have a lot of reasons we could be angry. I mean, Chance and I have a lot of reasons we could place blame. There's a lot of days we can have poor little old me syndrome. If you've ever cared for a child with special needs, you know. Every single day we could wake up and say, this is so confusing. Like, this is not at all how we saw this playing out. And you could play the victim card. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. This isn't fair. I mean, if I could tell you how many times I could blame a company owner or a corporate decision on destroying my entire life. At 50, I should have been living in Bora Bora with everything paid off and millions of dollars just sitting in the bank. But instead, I was starting over at zero. Now, I had investments and I lived way below my means. But let me tell you guys, if anyone could hold a grudge, if anyone could be mad, if anyone could blame, if anyone could have so much dis-ease in their body and hate that they could literally just fester with cancer, I would be the candidate. But I'm choosing a different life. I chose to take all the confusion. And instead of saying, I'm confused, say, God, use me to be a vessel to give other people so much hope. And everybody looking at me like, oh my God, you're going to tell a story about that? Do you really need to tell them all about that? Does the whole world need to know that story? No, they do, because the whole world is struggling in silence. And everybody feels the way that I have felt. And they're either going to stay stuck with dis-ease in their body and get disease. I watched it happen to someone that I love, and miss every single day. Multiple people, actually. Last Easter was a lot different. There were people at the Easter table that won't be there this year. And the Easter before that was way different. And 3 Easters ago was devastation. And 4 Easters ago was the most amazing. I mean, I look back at the pictures. Facebook memories can haunt you. And it's like, how was everything so perfect and amazing? And we thought it was stressful. We were so stressed that day, and we didn't have any idea that was the best it was ever going to be. COVID, the best 90 days of my life. But everyone was complaining and hating. And I look back on that, what I would give to have every child and every grandchild back in this house, stuck with me for 90 days so I could cook and clean and go on walks down the road to feed the horses apples with a double stroller in the sand. What I would do to have everyone just stuck, right? But to some people, that was complete devastation. It's perspective, guys. We have to ask God, like, if you're allowing this to happen in my life, why? I'm confused, but I want to be used. That's what I'm going to say to you. Don't say, poor little old me. Say, I'm confused, but Lord, use me. And take your daily habits and change your state. If you can change your state, you can change your life. This morning, I needed it. I just looked at Dave and I said, I'm going on a drive. Do you want anything? Do you want a coffee? Do you want a donut? In 15 minutes of movement in a car, listening to a pastor, listening to a sermon, listening to a podcast. Most people don't do that. They just doom scroll, right? All love, guys. You got to be all love. And changing your daily habit and your morning routine, how you start the day is how you usually have your whole day. Movement is good, fueling your brain. I take Rise mushroom drink every morning. If I didn't, the non-Jesus side would come out of me because I'm not mentally strong enough to do it on my own. And we all have people that we want to like rip their jugular out. Like, you have that feeling because of something that is not at ease. You have that feeling because you're placing blame. You won't forgive. You feel a certain way. You're taking it personally. You're making assumptions. You're doing all the things that the 4 agreements say not to do, right? And it's not about you. It hasn't been about you since the day that you were born. It's about all the people around you. And at the end of this life, really the big question is not going to be how much money you made and your house and your car and your clout and your followers and your check and how many kids you had and if your marriage was perfect and all the family portraits, right? What I would give for a family portrait today. But I want to tell you guys, none of that matters. None of it freaking matters. At the end, it's, what did you do with the time I blessed you with? What did you do with the talents that I gave only you as a gift? What did you do with the treasures that I trusted you with? That money isn't yours anyway. It flows to you from a much higher power, and it can flow to you like water, and it can dry up like a drought in Kansas. It's energy, it's frequency. Abundance flows where energy goes. And so many people are just stuck. And I don't want to talk about Easter because I don't want to offend any of you, but I'm going to talk about Easter because here's the truth. We know that the story happened. We know that the story happened, right? We don't know whose version of it is the correct version. So everyone wants to argue about which church is right. But last night, our pastor at Celebration Church, it was live streamed and I shared it. It was amazing. He said, it was a simple decision one day and there was a clean slate. And everybody gets the same decision. You get to believe whatever you want to believe. But I was thinking about how old I was when I had been a bad little girl. And I felt guilt and I felt shame and I felt all the low vibrational, someone hurt my feelings or there was a bully that happened to me at a young age because I had bright orange hair, freckles all over my face, and they called me Copper Top. Like, I was never the popular girl, right? I was always the one getting made fun of until I met Dave Pidcock, and he made me think red hair was beautiful. And Pretty Woman came out that year. So all of a sudden, Nobody wanted to be a redhead, and then Julia Roberts showed up and everybody wanted to be a redhead. But by then, I mean, I was through the toughest years, right? Who knew it was cool to have red hair? But I was 12. And before my grandmother passed away, I was probably more like 10 when it happened. I went to this little house after school and I had a mentor there. Her name was Marsana Reynolds. And I remember I only went there because all the cute boys were going to this basement. It was called I think it was called TLC or Teens for Christ, FC. That's what it was called. So I went there because there was a lot of cute boys going there and my friends were going there. And I remember Mikey Farmer's mom would volunteer and then Marsana Reynolds. I remember the kids that their moms helped with it. And I remember my grandma saying, you could go, you should go. And my grandma was there and nobody pressured me in any way. They asked me about a decision that I wanted to make and if I wanted to devote my life in this direction. And I feel sad for people that have a certain feeling about whatever they think it is. For me, it was a simple prayer. And that day, I knew nothing I had ever done that was so bad was going to be a label on me no matter what I did. I shoplifted and I got caught. Like, I lost my virginity at 12 years old because I was so insecure. I would do anything for this boy to love me. Can you imagine? Like, I have a young granddaughter. It's unbelievable to me to imagine a little girl hurting so badly that they would be looking for validation and love in all the wrong places. I did not have a mom and dad at home. I would walk to grandma's house. Mom and dad were working. It was so messed up. And then my grandmother died. And man, when she died and I was 12, I was so confused. But do you want to know the greatest gift? The greatest gift that I had in every bad decision that I ever made. I knew that I was forgiven. I knew that I was forgiven. I didn't have to carry that. I didn't have to feel less than. I didn't have to think that I was a heathen. I didn't have to think that I was less than anyone else around me. And people think that being a Christian, well, there's a lot of hypocrites. There's a lot of hypocrites. So some people look at being a believer and they think, I don't want to be one of them. And I remember one day my grandma saying to me, you don't have to change everyone around you. And definitely don't judge them. Just invite them in. Trampas Kennedy knocked on the door one day, wanted me to play kick the can. He was friends with this boy that I thought was so cute. And when he knocked on the door, my grandma said, she can come out and play kick the can in a minute. You want to come on in? We're just finishing up our Bible study. I wanted to die. Like, two of the cutest kids in the whole school, and my grandma has them in there reading before I could go play kick the can, right? And kick the can was like right across the street. She lived across from the park and the other grandma lived around the block on the other side of the park. And growing up, I just think the most important decision I ever made, and I want to be this grandma to my grandkids. I want to be this mentor to anyone that ever follows me. I think the most important job that I have in this lifetime is not being the CEO of one of the fastest growing companies in the industry. It's not being the owner of a big business that does bottling and labeling. It's not having all these Airbnbs or the retail stores or any of that, or being an author or waking up every Saturday morning and doing No Guts, No Story. At the end of this lifetime, I'm going to have to answer the questions. And I have to forgive. I have to be all love. I have to not judge. I have to allow everyone to be how they are and pray more for them than I talk about them. No matter how bad they hurt me, I will not talk badly about them. I will pray for them. You will not hear bad come out of my mouth because I can't change the people around me, but I can raise my frequency and I can be all love and I can start my clean slate session every single day. Some of you have been waiting. One of these days, I'm going to address it. One of these days, I'm going to get well. One of these days, I'm going to slow down and I'm just going to take time. One of these days, we're going to, and I'm just going to tell you guys, sometimes none of these days is ever going to come. There's a little hourglass and it's ticking. And mine, when it hit 55, something in me changed. You might not think 55 is old, but that's halfway to 110, right? That's not young anymore. You don't need a sign. You need to make a decision. You don't need a sign. You don't need anyone else's permission. Some of you can't forgive publicly because you've talked too much trash with your friends about this person. Like, it's hard for my family to just forgive certain people because they've all had so many conversations bad about the situation. It's never too late to just write the letter and understand that nobody will ever hurt you as bad as the hurt that you caused the Heavenly Father that allowed you to have this life. And whatever that means to you, God is within you, every single one of you. That's why your heart beats. That's why you wake up every day. That's why your blood flows. That's why your brain works. It's a miracle that you're even breathing right now. And the fact that you woke up today, you should have so much gratitude. I practiced gratitude this morning and, I could be sad. This is not a normal Easter. Went to the cemetery yesterday, put Easter lilies. It sucked. I didn't cry because I'm grateful for all the years that Dave's mom made Easter so freaking fun. The fun bags, the deviled eggs, the macaroni and cheese. I mean, I'm going to make all the things today. I got 12 Easter baskets. I'm just going to put everything in for my nieces and nephews. 3 of them are graduating next month. They're not little anymore. There's no little kids coming to Easter around here. But do you know what? It is what you make it. It is what you make it. And the reality is, Dave's mom was probably one of the strongest people that I know ever. And I look at my mom and she is too. And I'm going to be that girl. I'm going to be that girl that sets the example that my grandkids are watching, that she's all love, she's all forgiveness, she's steady, she's strong, she's faithful. And if you heard the part that I said today about staying, there should be an award for people that don't just run to the new, that don't just hang on to the old, but the people that stay so still just in prayer and faithfulness when there is a spiritual warfare of delay. Because for Dave and I, there has been, my gosh, 9 years of delay, something that I've tried to pray away. There were 5 years of delay before we started Frequence. And man, how the Lord blessed us and our family with the right formulator and the right product and the right leadership that I never met. So many friends I never met, and some incredible loyal friends that stayed. They don't get celebrated like the newest person that breaks all the records. They don't get celebrated as the top achiever that made millions of dollars, but they should be celebrated because the most important thing they did was stay faithful and stay the course. And I think that's something that's really hard for people to do in this day and age because they're so stimulated from everything on the outside and all the shiny pennies and all the temptation I don't know. In closing, I would just say, I hope you know you have a clean slate. You can do and be and have anything that you dream of. It's a holiday that I love because I do believe. I do believe. I do believe that Christ died for me, that there was a person that paid a price publicly so they didn't have to sacrifice animals anymore or do all the rituals. It is finished. It is finished. And I'm never going to be perfect, but I'm always going to be trying to be more Christ-like in a way that is not judgmental or hypocritical, but it's all love all the time. And if you feel less than, I have a place for you here. If you feel like a heathen like I did, I have a place for you here. I'm always out for the underdog. Let me tell you, probably sometimes out for people I shouldn't be in the corner for. But here's something that I know. Somebody loved me. Somebody believed in me. Somebody saw me in a light that no one else ever saw. And I'm just grateful. When you change your frequency to be all love, you'll change the frequency of everyone around you. Everyone around you. And life is too short to stay stuck. Life is way too short to stay stuck. If you don't like where you're at and you can't stay another day, pray about it. Get in your car like I did and say, Siri, find me a really good sermon on this. And you'll just have to believe that is God speaking to you because he's right there. He's inside of each and every one of you. And the people that are hurt and they run from God, they don't stay in faithful prayer. They don't stay in discernment. They run because there's an easier way. They have to keep suffering. They have to keep learning the lesson. They have to keep having bad situations happen because they literally can't forgive and release it. The greatest lesson I ever learned is forgiving. And you don't need another sign, guys. All you need is a decision. Write the letter, make the phone call, tell someone that you love them, let go of it because it's not hurting them that you hold a grudge. It's only hurting you because it lowers the vibration. And as my son Chance always says to me, when I start to go down that non-Jesus side, he'll say, Mom, that's not God. God's not going to bless that. Thank God I have children that will call me on my own crap, right? But I'll tell you something. I'm all love. I'm completely authentic. I love the Lord. I love you. I love helping people. I never want you to feel a certain way. If you don't believe the way that I do, just know I don't have to push it on anyone. If someone sees a person that's so full of love and happiness, they gravitate to that and they want that. When they see someone that says they're a certain way, but they're full of, nobody wants that. They're like, I'm never doing that. They're hypocrites, right? Just live your life authentically and be who you are. And if you don't get anything else from this message today, forgive. Because Jesus didn't choose the perfect person. He went to the well and found the prostitute. And that was the very first person he talked to. That should tell you something. Be all love. Release all the judgment and hate. And live a life where you have a clean slate. Today's a brand new day. No matter what you've ever done, you are forgiven. And you are not less than. And God wants to bless your life in amazing ways. So I hope you guys have an awesome Easter. And I'll look forward to seeing you next Saturday on No Guts, No Story. If you got something from today, please drop in the comment. What was the one word that reached you? This is not me ever. I just asked the Holy Spirit and I just go. I just go. So if something hit you today, please drop it in the comments. I hope you have an amazing Easter and God bless each and every one of you. I love you. Have a great day.